Hello Kent, and hello to all your customers from 8 Stony Street who are participating in your wonderful initiative, your online tasting of your desert island wines. And I'm so happy and proud that you've chosen Ataraxia Pinot Noir 2016 as one of those wines. My name's Kevin Grant. I'm the co-owner and winemaker at Ataraxia. Behind me you can see the working environment of Ataraxia. This is the Hemel and Arde Valley, the Heaven and Earth Valley, and we're situated about 120 kilometers southeast of Cape Town. What's particularly important and interesting about this valley is it butts right up against the Atlantic Ocean, and all through summer we have this prevailing wind over the hills behind me that cool down this valley, essentially our giant free air conditioner. And it's this, together with the topography, the altitude above sea level, that determines the styles of wine that we're able to make here at Ataraxia. But after 30 years of winemaking, I'm convinced more than ever that in fact I'm not a winemaker or a viticulturist or a vigneron if I wanted to be particularly posh. I'm a soil farmer. We farm soils, and my sole aim in life in terms of winemaking has evolved to a point where I want to have the purest and the most faithful expression of my dirt and translate that into a bottle via a cultivar, in this case Pinot Noir. That's one of the cultivars I've chosen to farm on and express this particular soil type that we have on the farm. You can see over my shoulder the reddish hue of a shale-derived soil, high content of clay in the soil, very low vigor, very stony, and a high degree of iron content in the soil, hence its color. And it's that particular soil that you see that I want to translate into the bottle and get you to taste our dirt. And I think that Andrew Jefford said it most poignantly, that you can't decide to make a great Pinot Noir, a great any wine, by sheer wine-making force of will. What you can decide to do, in fact probably the only thing you should decide to do, is to plant a cultivar, a grape variety, on a particular site that no other variety would be more happier than the one you've chosen. And at this point in time, and future generations of grants coming to farm in this piece of land might prove me completely wrong, but at this point in time it's all about Pinot Noir. Our altitude and our proximity to the sea, and we have the highest Chardonnay and Pinot Noir vineyards in the entire Hemel and Arde. This altitude is one of the contributing factors that cause our Pinot Noirs to be harvested the latest and the last of all the producers in the Hemel and Arde. And to me that's tremendously important, because every hour that a grape spends on the vine ripening is an extra hour that you afford it to complete its ripening journey. And we can ask for nothing more as translators of soil if the vehicle that we're using has had this opportunity to ripen fully. So the wine you're tasting is the Pinot Noir 2016 from a very dry vintage, not a warm vintage but a dry vintage in the Hemel and Arde. And I've poured I have a sample in this glass here. The first thing that you notice about the wine is its beautiful translucent color. I can see my finger behind the glass. To me, it's such an important thing when it gets to Pinot Noir. So often these incredibly dense, dark Pinot Noirs, you often wonder if it is indeed all 100% Pinot Noir, or has been made with a view of creating a Pinot Noir that puts up its hand and says, I want to be a Merlot too. I think it's so important to see a translucency, a vibrancy, a liveliness in the color, and this is what hopefully you're finding as well in your glass. To me, this is not about Kevin Grant. This is not about anything to do with my winemaking prowess or my ego. In fact, I pack all that away, and it's really about coaxing this dirt that's behind me into the glass. So we go to the nose. On the nose, wonderfully restrained, refined, savory characteristics. We seem to have an underlying delicacy of pure red fruit in our wines, and we tend more towards wines that express themselves in terms of earth, in terms of savoriness. And if I've learned one thing in the 15 years of making Pinot Noir on Ataraxia, is that this is our style of wine. This is what our terroir produces. And if I wanted something more New Worldly in style, or more fruity in style, or more structured and broad-shouldered in style in terms of tannin, I'd need to go look somewhere else. No, there's a wonderful, almost ethereal quality to the nose, which hopefully promises the same on the palate. Seductive, svelte is how I like to describe the introduction of the wine onto the palate. Certainly that savoriness comes through again, and then there's this poise, this elegance, this velvetiness. There's nothing about this wine that wants to shout at you, wants to wrestle you to the ground. It's certainly a wine that seeks to whisper, that's inviting you and me to pull up a chair and says, I'll keep you company for the evening. These are the kind of wines I want to create, and these are the kind of wines that Ataraxia, this picture behind me that you can see, is able to produce. And I hope you enjoy it, and let me just finish off by inviting you all very warmly to come and visit on the vineyards. This is just a label, it will always be a label until you actually come to the vineyards where you can experience it in flesh and blood, and then it takes on the personality. So enjoy the evening, and thank you very much for listening to me and presenting the Ataraxia Pinot Noir 2016.